Tonight is a culmination of a number of opportunities our kids have had to work with, talk about, and discuss the dangers and effects of alcohol, of teen driving, of drugs, and of making good decisions. This is what I believe to be one of the biggest community gatherings that Wilmington has, other than town meeting, to be able to come together and demonstrate what we believe as a community and what we strive for as a community to keep our kids safe at all times. Tonight we have some speakers that you may recognize. One of them who was here last year. She is going to be the MC this evening, taking over the duties from me. And then a number of speakers who are new to us and will be presenting some great information. We had taken a lot of feedback from last year's event and tried to hone it down and get things together in a format that we found will hopefully get the message across and open up the opportunities for you and your children to have that conversation before they go out that night to the prom, or to any event for that matter, to say stay safe, take care of one another, make good decisions, and that we love you all. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our MC for this evening, someone you may remember from last year, someone who spoke with our 9th and 10th grade students today and made a huge impact. Tears in the room and kids coming up and talking to her after, but someone who really has been a wonderful gift to the community and town of Wilmington, Ms. Kara Filler.
All right. So I gotta tell you, I spent 10 hours on a plane yesterday flying across from Portland, Oregon, where I call home. This is my 5th visit to Wilmington High School. I've kind of been adopted by the Wildcats and I'm very proud to be a member. Had some great times today with the freshman and sophomore class. And my role tonight is very simple. I get to introduce to you a speaker who's been an incredible source of inspiration in my life. We got to know each other a few years ago. He's a dear friend, on top of probably the best speaker in North America on this topic. He's here to share his personal story with all of you, to encourage everyone, not just the students in the room, but also the parents, to make some great choices this weekend and every weekend thereafter. His name is Kevin Brooks. He's spoken at more than 1,000 schools in North America. He's a good Vancouver Canadian boy. You will hear a Canadian accent come out in his presentation tonight. Mine and his, we apologize in advance. It is my honor and privilege to share the stage with him multiple times over the years. And this is his first ever visit to Massachusetts. He's actually going to spend the next 8 days in Vermont schools. This is the first and only presentation in the Boston area so far, and I know there's many to come. So if you would help me, please welcome Kevin Brooks.
Thank you. Thank you. So my name is Kevin, and I'm here today. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you a story. And I'm used to telling the stories mostly to teenagers, so I tell it in a teenager voice. So for some of the people in here, some of the adults, some of the parents, please rewind a few years back and, pretend you're back in that day, or maybe you still are in that day. I'm going to tell them that teenager voice, because that's the most comfortable I'm telling it. I've called the story Our Story, and that's because I'm pretty awesome with titles and full of pretty bad jokes. I hope you dig them. Before I tell the full story, a little side story. It was a long weekend, and my friends and I were out on a camping trip. And I'm not going to hold back here, I'll tell you. Me and my friends, we were the party animals and started really young. And we partied too hard. We were out of control. Way into the time when we were still legal to drink, but we were partying like we were just out of control always. And there I am, I wanted to go grab some more beers. I wanted to drive to go get them, and one of my buddies is just not letting me go. He sat at the side of the car, there's no way I'm leaving. And I'll never get the words he said. He said, Kev, look at your legs, imagine you couldn't use those again. Look at your skateboard, imagine you couldn't ride it again. And there's some pretty harsh words from a friend, but you know what, I'm glad he said them. Because it hit me right here, and they knocked some common sense to that thick, drunk skull of mine, enough to take the keys ignition and not drive the car. I went back to the fire and I gave that buddy the old half handshake hug, don't know what it's called, might know what I'm talking about thing. Thanks, dude. Yeah, my back. And I tell that side story 2 reasons. One, with the odds, there's a friend telling me, look at my legs, my skateboard, just a month earlier as I'm about to drive impaired. And too bad I didn't learn my lesson there. I also tell it because that's a friend. I'm about to make a stupid choice. There's no need for me driving my car impaired. He's watching my back. He's pulling me out of that situation. And that's what friends do. And I just hope people in this room, you do the same. You look out for each other. It doesn't have to be impaired driving, even drinking, or drug related at all. It's just about those choices. And we got to look out for each other, because it just takes that one bad choice And as young people, we're being hurt, we're even dying. It's always the best of times. It's the house party, it's the camping trip, it's prom. And who's around us during these times? It's our friends. So we gotta look out for each other. You know, my buddies were always looking out for me because I was that out-of-control one. I was the gong show. They called me the creature. A month later, there's a lot going on. I watched my one sister graduate from high school. I watched my youngest sister the next night, Haley, 5 years old at the time, in her first ever ballet recital. I look back on the night a lot. When I think about it, it really gets me. What gets me the most is just how I never seen it coming. I never once saw it wrestling around with my little sister, throwing up in the air, catching her, twirling her around that night. That maybe that'd be the last time I'd do that with Haley. I never once saw maybe someone go down that night that could change my life or the lives of everyone around me forever. I just didn't think that way. And that's probably why a couple hours later, there I am again, flying around, partying, driving in my car, thinking nothing of it. I got buddies with me. We stopped to grab some more beers. I remember standing in my driveway, just turning around and staring at the car. And I stopped at a gut feeling, just something inside was holding me back. In my head, I remember hearing just like, Kev, shut her down, call it a night, go to bed, just end it here for once. And imagine one way or another, everyone in this room knows what I'm talking about, just those situations where we got a bad feeling, I should be doing this, and we all have it as people, and it's definitely there for a reason. As people, we also have that choice that we're going to listen or we're going to ignore. That is up to us, that is up to you. I found myself ignoring a lot in those days. So often there was just happy to shrug off those bad feelings, especially if it was out partying. I found a 15-pack of beer, I hopped in the car and headed to the next party, a party I don't remember a whole lot of. My friends had told me a lot of the next parts were all leaving around 3:30 in the morning. I'm stumbling out, keys in hand, going to drive. I mean, just stupid. My friends aren't going to go with me. They call a taxi, get home safe. Great option, they chip in a few bucks each, they get that safe ride home, and they have no regrets. I could have done a lot of things that night different. I could have walked home, I could have stayed at the party, I could have called my family for a ride, but I didn't even have to because they were calling me off the hook the whole night. They knew something was up. But you know, I was ignoring their calls, I stopped answering. I wish I hadn't because that ride was there. I was about to pull away, one of my old school buddies hopped in with me. His name is Brendan. Brendan and I met around 5, 6 years old. Maybe we're the cliche Canadians. We grew up playing hockey. We both had pretty sick mullets as well. Brendan was a good hockey player. He was a year younger than me. We played in the same team every second year. You got any hockey players or hockey fans in here? Yeah? Boston Bruins fans? Yeah? What's up? That really sucked when I went to that Canucks game. Paid a lot of money and you guys beat us the other night. But I do still like you. So, I grew up playing hockey. Brendan and I played together. We traveled around a lot with hockey. We played, pretty intense. It was rep hockey. Our parents got along well. We'd oftentimes travel or stay together. We went to high school together, didn't hang out so much. He dated my sister for quite a while in high school, and I got to know Brendan better then. I can't say exactly why I hopped in my car that night. I don't remember jumping in. I vaguely remember driving past our old high school, coming down this hill and stopping at a red light. I think about that intersection a lot. There's a T in the road, so I'm turning right or I'm turning left. Right's home, let's party some more. And on that night, it's all there really was. But looking back more, I see there's a whole lot more. It's that crossroads in life, whichever way I turn, whichever choice I make, it's going to determine everything for my life, Brendan's life, having around us their lives too. And I wish in those days I'd have thought like that, even for a split second, because I'm sure I'd acted differently. I wouldn't start drinking and partying at that young age, to the point where I was always out of control and reckless. I wouldn't always been driving so fast or taking those chances behind the wheel. I wouldn't been driving drunk or going to go to one more party that night. But I didn't think that way. And most of those rowdy party buddies of mine, they weren't thinking that way. And really, how many of us when we're out and about with our friends having a good time, or we just stop and saying, hey, what could go wrong in this situation? It's probably just a select few. And that definitely wasn't my style. All I'm thinking is another party's more fun than going home. I'm not going to drive slow. I never drove slow. The figures going upwards of like 70, 80 miles an hour in about a 50 zone, way too fast if I was sober, let alone impaired, excessively drunk, excessively speeding, new driver, tunes cranked, beers cracked, phones trying to figure out where we're going. It's like factor, distraction, factor, distraction, factor, distraction. You start adding that stuff up in anything you're doing in your life, whether it's work or play. All you really do is increase the risk of something going down, and something went down that night. It was a mellow corner, I was ripped around fast, I never made it. The car kept going straight, it struck a road divider, it flew in the air. Over the divider, out the middle of the road, and just hit. It started to roll front of her back, and how many times till it finally stopped, a mangled mess in a grassy embankment. We're talking years later, and I still remember none of that crash. And up till a few years ago, I didn't know any of the stuff I'm going to share with you. The reason I know any of these details is because a student went home from a talk I gave at a school a few years ago, was talking to his mom. It just turned out the student's mom is also a paramedic, works in an ambulance. And guess where she was on a summer night years ago? The scene of my crash, pulling me out of my car and saving my life. And now years later, there I am speaking in her son's school, telling the story, a story she'd never forgotten, a story that changed her life as well. We met for coffee, and I remember that she told me, I'll never forget. She said it was a busy night, a Saturday night, working on an ambulance, lots going on. It was the last call of the night, but they didn't expect much. It didn't seem like it was going to be that harsh. They pulled up the spot in the ambulance, didn't see anything. The paramedics step out, they're walking around, no car, then all of a sudden it's crunch, crunch, broken glass, shattered each, like beers, shoes, skateboard, mirror from a car. They follow the debris field and finally they spot the car, ups and down, its roof, wheels still spinning, it's that fresh. They race down, the car's destroyed, 2 people inside both seriously hurt, Brendan and me. Brendan hit his head so hard, had a serious head injury. We're talking star hockey player here. I can talk more to my injuries, also hit my head, had a head injury, my whole upper body was devastated. Dislocated my left shoulder, separated my right shoulder, busted both my collarbones. Was torn to shreds from a broken glass, losing a ton of blood. Fractured a vertebrae in my neck where my neck and back knee that did damage to my spinal cord. And on top of that, I had a collapsed lung. And that I know is life-threatening. Now I wake up today and I gotta say I'm pretty stoked to be here in Boston and listen to Dropkick Murphys all day long. Loving it. But I can't always say I wake up in the best of moods, who really does? Some of my toughest mornings when I've been dreaming about skateboarding or snowboarding or playing hockey, the things I still love most, my dreams can be so real. I open my eyes, there's a wheelchair beside me and it all comes back and I'm bummed. But I don't lay in bed too often feeling sorry for myself for any period of time because I do know it's a miracle I'm alive. And the reason I'm alive, right now, right here, paramedic told me is because I was wearing my seatbelt. You know, that's something I always did. And I'll admit right here, right now, I mean, I was that crazy guy out of control making all those bad choices, but at least I made that one good one and saved my life that night. I'll always be wearing that belt for sure. Now, she told me a couple things I never thought of, like how I would have been thrown from the car the same speed the car was going because I'm inside it through the glass into the hard ground. A person's probably not going to live through that. If I somehow did car rolling on top of me, crushing me afterwards, not going to live through that. But I didn't fly the car. Car stops rolling, it's upside down on its roof. I'd probably say that funny, being from Canada. But because it's on this roof, I'm hanging upside down from the belt. She told me that positioning saved my life because of my injuries, collapsed lung, the fact that I was bleeding unconscious. Had I let it any other way than upside down, blood and fluid would have pooled into my lungs, and I would have drowned. But I hung upside down from the belt, and this fluid that would have otherwise drowned me, it trickled out of me while I hung upside down, and I clung to life, long enough until we were found. I don't remember being found. The first ambulance, next ambulance, police, fire, lights, sirens, the whole scene, the jaws of life ripping, tearing into my car to pull me out of it. The ambulance ride, the hospital, the first hospital, none. A lot of next stuff I'll tell you, my family's told me. My family at this point is in bed like most people. Sunday, 4 or 5 in the morning, and the phone rings. And it's that dreaded call. It's a call no one ever wants to get for someone they care for or love. And sadly, with the amount of people in this room, I'm sure people know about that call. They've had that call. And if you've had such a call, I'm sorry because you know what I'm saying. And if people in this room trust one thing I share with you today, it's I'll guarantee you, I'll bet on it, that there's no way that people who care for you, love you, inside this room or out, they never want a phone call like that for you. Or worse yet, the knock on the door. That one means you didn't live. My family got the call to get to the hospital. It could be the last time they see me alive. They're in shock, to say the least. They weren't prepared for what they're going to see. My body swelled to double the size from the trauma. I was one big bruise. My lip wasn't just cut, it was split all the way through, dangling off my face. My arm was torn to shreds from going through the window and rolling around in the broken glass however many times. Some people were looking at my arm thinking I might lose my arm. I was so torn up. I was thinking about a while ago, a little experiment, if you will, rolling around in the wheelchair, one arm, nothing but circles. I definitely need 2 arms in a wheelchair. I got a few bad wheelchair jokes. Tubes, machines, doctors, nurses trying to save my life. All my family could do, stand on my bedside, tell me they love me, praying for me to get through this. I wasn't calm at all. I was fighting, trying to get away, throwing shots, punching people, hitting. I thought they were after me, trying to kill me. The medications I was on, I was reacting to them. There was a tube in my throat pumping air into my lungs. It blocked my voice. I couldn't yell. I couldn't scream. All I wanted was help. I thought these people were after me. They ended up tying me down to the bed. Now I'm tied to the bed. I can't pull those tubes out anymore. There was so many. There was ones down my side. There was the one in my throat. There was one in each nostril. One pumping nutrients in, one pumping an infection out. And there was one more tube, the worst tube of all. I threw up the pinky because it's about pinky size. You could possibly guess where that worst tube of all went. Yeah, it goes in your arm. It's totally not cool. No, it's not your arm. Yeah. Where you thought, probably down here, not cool, probably like a foot long. I could insert an inappropriate foot long joke here pretty easily, but I'm not going to do that. I kind of just did. Guy or girl, you get the catheter, and I probably don't need to explain to anyone in this room why I don't want that down there. Now, this was my summer. I guess at one point they started taking me off the medication. Maybe that's why I was acting so aggressive, but morphine's a very serious drug. I actually got hooked on it while I was in the hospital. They just slowly weaned me off a little less each day. My memories of those days come off the morphine, this constant panic struggle feeling. Nurses didn't walk in my room. It was a racing into my room with purpose, needles to wake me up every day to take blood, strap me down, put me in this machine, that machine, CAT scan, MRI. Tubes in, tubes out, complications, stomach infection, blood infection, staph infection, lung infection. It never seemed to end. And through it all, there was my family by my side. And I was definitely one of those kids who, I put my family through a lot. But it was them who was there, by my side, after all the crap I put them through, trying to get me through. You know, I didn't know what had happened, and no one had said anything. They were very worried if I learned the details, I'm going to give up, I'm going to quit. I was fighting for my life every day. Well, one day I started asking questions and still no voice. Was Mom there reading my lips to answer them? The first question I asked, why can't I move? Why can't I move? I had no clue. And there's my mom about to break the bad news. The news that broke her heart. She was going to break it 10 times over, telling her firstborn, her only son, the active guy. That was my skate footy playing when you were coming in here. And you can see more if you go to the website, hit the YouTube link, an active guy. The words, Cav, I'm really sorry. You're paralyzed. Paralyzed. I understand a dude sitting in a wheelchair says I'm paralyzed. No one's probably like, holy crap, didn't see that one coming, right? Like, I totally lose shock factor and I get it. But I gotta tell you, I mean, most of you in this room, when I was your age, there's no chair, there's no wheelchair. And I'm trying to paint a picture because really how different are we? I'm young, I'm healthy, I'm active, I'm living life, I got family, I got friends, I got things I love doing, a future ahead. Then just wake up, there's my mom telling me never run again, never jump again, never walk again, never skateboard again, snowboard again, play hockey again, never staged out at a concert again, cliff jump again, run down a beach, run a frisbee, football, skimboard, wakeboard, the list goes on and on and on. Just I'm sure your list of things you love to do goes on and on and on. My world is shattered now, my mom says, Kev, that's why you can't move your legs. I try to move them, they don't go. I start panicking, freaking out, keep trying to move them, they won't go. I remember thinking a little simpler, maybe I could just wiggle my toes, because that is easier, right? Wiggling your toes, I mean simple. And you might not have meant to do it, but people in the stream, you could have just wiggled your toes when I said that, and your toe wiggling going on. Does anyone do it? I totally wanted you to, don't feel bad. Maybe you're trying hard not to, I hope you're doing it right now. Sweet, okay? The point is, I hope you can always wiggle those toes and do those things you love. You know, I couldn't, I still can't. I started to get scared, because the kick flip toes, 360 flip toes, switch hard flip toes. Anyone following? Any skateboarders in here? Not so much. What up anyways? My body uses it for a lot of things. It's not working, I'm freaking out, but I can't yell, I can't scream, my voice is blocked off, I can't stand up, storm the hospital, can't move. My mom is beside me crying, she's so hurt. I don't want her to hurt. I'm trying to be tough, I'm trying to keep it inside, but inside I'm just devastated. This can't be, this can't be. I'm hoping it's the morphine, I'm seeing things, this isn't real. But clearly I am awake. I eventually ask how it happened. She tells me it's a car crash, and I can't tell you I was shocked. It was not my first car crash, the way that I drove, the chances I took, my last memories driving drunk, partying with my friends, I'm laying in a hospital, it added up. When I was told where I crashed, that one didn't make sense to me though. 5 minutes from home, a road I drove every single day, it just did not make sense. I couldn't picture crashing there. One told me I was speeding, I was drinking. I mean, these are things I was doing all the time driving down that road. It just didn't make sense at first. It didn't take long for it to start to sink in, and it's definitely crystal clear now. I look back on a lot of times with my friends, and yeah, we had some fun times, but I also see there was a lot of stuff we were doing, we shouldn't have been doing it. There's a lot of times we were crossing the line we shouldn't have crossed, taking chances we didn't need to take. And we fell into some bad habits pretty early. And many times we got home through those crazy times, those weekends, those camping trips, those nights. Somehow times we didn't even remember how. And you know what? The day we just thought it was skill. Like we thought it was skill. We had buddies we called the good drunk drivers, said stuff like that. I mean, come on, as if. I know now it wasn't skill keeping us alive. It was just luck. And I learned the hard way that's not the kind of luck that people want to mess around with. I learned the hard way that luck doesn't necessarily last forever, especially when you push it. I was pushing my luck pretty much every single time I went out. They called me the creature. I mean, come on. And then one night the luck ran out. And at that point there's no turning back. I'm paralyzed, there's no cure for that. If there was, I wouldn't be sitting in this wheelchair right now telling you the story. I could be here in the Boston area, but maybe I'd be packing that skateboard. Maybe when I went to boardwalk today, I would be riding my deck rather than getting like a wheelchair bearing replaced. Maybe I'd be here for a hockey tournament. Who knows? There's so many things that we do and I used to do that I'm not, because I sit in this chair. And I still sit in this chair because of stupid, reckless choices I used to make. And that hits me really hard, you know? Hits me the hardest almost of all. It's just like I wouldn't do that stuff now. I wouldn't take those risks now. I wouldn't cross that line now. No way. But here I am still sitting in this chair. And it's like all of us, we make choices in a split second so often, so fast. But after we actually stop and think, the consequence of this next choice, this next action, could last forever. A lifetime. I wish I used to think that way. I really felt like my life had come to an end and able to feel, move, no cure. My attitude has changed since, but at first that's how I felt. All I wanted was my friends to be okay. There must have been people with me. I started guessing who it was because I didn't remember each name I guessed. My mom said no. I ran out of names. It was a huge sense of relief. Thank God the worst was over. It was just me. My mom said, no, Kev, there's someone else with you. I asked who. It was Brendan. Brendan who? He's my old hockey buddy. My only thoughts are how random. I didn't remember seeing me. Never been in my car before. Where's he at? Mom, how's Brendan doing? Mom looked at me and said, Kev, Brendan died. He's dead. I'm really sorry. I've told this story about 1,000 times. I've gotten used to pretty much every detail I share. I've learned to crack a few jokes at my expense. I got no jokes here. If I could just cut one part out, this is it. This part sucks. My buddy died in my car. Because he drove drunk, fast, took those chances. I'll live with that forever. And you know what, I'll never forget those words coming from my mom's mouth. They were words that would change life forever. I didn't want life to change forever. I didn't want Brendan to be gone. It didn't make sense because in my head I could see him so young, so alive, he can't be gone. I was like, Kev, you hopped in your car and the last minute he was found in it. We were at his funeral. His funeral, I'm thinking maybe he just died, I don't know how much time ago, but maybe they can save him, bring him back somehow, but no. Weeks have passed, Brendan's been cremated, there's no coming back from that. And then it hits me even harder, his family, his parents, brothers, little sisters, grandparents at every single hockey game, everyone who loved Brendan. What have I done to these people? I have ruined their lives. I do not know a word or a series of words I can tell you right now that describes that feeling. But what it'll tell you is I wish it on no one. And that is why I travel all over. With my voice, it's fading, but I'm keeping her going. I'm talking so much. Telling the story. I would want this on no one. I want no one to make that bad choice, any choice, that took away a friend's life or someone they care for, changed their life forever. I asked how the family was doing. My mom said, just trying to be strong, get through each day. What else could they do? Such a huge part of their life gone so fast. She told me that Brendan's parents had been calling our house every single day. They were asking how I was doing. Was I going to make it? They were still calling. She told me at their son's funeral, they actually stopped it and everybody there prayed for me that I would live. Asked people if they had extra money to chip it into a donation. I was paralyzed. Brendan's parents, their son's funeral. It'd be a year and a half before I went into court and pled guilty to the charge against me, dangerous driving, causing death, a very serious charge, and jail time looked like a pretty good possibility. Probably the only reason I didn't go to jail is because Brendan's family made a call on my behalf. They went to bat for me. I never asked them to do that. They chose to support. They chose to forgive. And every time I've asked them how, they say the same thing. Kev, it's easier to forgive you than it is to hate me or hold anger against me. Now, how many people in similar situations can go that route? I have a 15-year-old sister who I love more than anyone, and I ran into a little girl, 15-year-old, in a wheelchair at the airport the other day. Maybe I'm a hypocrite, but she was hit by a drunk driver. And I thought someone took out my sister like that, man. I don't know how many people can go that route. Brent's family, pretty special people. That family gave me huge support. Maybe somehow I'd get through this one. I can also tell you without that family support, I wouldn't be sitting here with their blessing telling you the story. I can't tell you there and there I was convinced I was going to get through, or wanted to get through, or deserved to. I kept asking questions. Why did I live? Why did he die? Why am I here? Do I deserve to be alive? I was thinking, no, I don't. And I was untied, so when everyone leaves, I'm going to grab the breather. I'm going to pull it out. I'm going to stop breathing. I'm going to end it right here, right now. It'd be easier, it'd be fair. But every time I thought I quit, I just couldn't do it. Right behind those thoughts of giving up or words that echo in my head, I'll never forget. I want to live. I want to live. I want to live. I really thought to make a choice that day. And I'm here today to show the choice that I made. And I have no regrets in that choice whatsoever. I do love and appreciate this life, every second of it, more than I ever have. And sadly, I've seen what the suicide does, losing a friend some years back and being at his funeral, seeing all the people, how much it hurt them. I swore then and there at George's funeral, never ever would I give up, man. Never ever would I quit on life. I couldn't do that to my family. It's not just me, I'd be gone. If everyone who cared for me loved me, that's to be dealing with it. I can't do that to them. I've had those thoughts in and out, man. I've gone through heartbreaks and sand and thought about it. I lost a buddy, Chris, getting shot some years back senselessly. Dying, I mean, just being in the wrong place at the wrong time, you know, thought about quitting, but just will never quit. And the darkest of days is what I do. I'm laying in bed, I just think about my little sister. That's who I think of. And I think that's something anyone can do with the darkest of days if we're ever having a hard time hanging on for us. You know, every one of us is a hero to at least one person, and it's that little one, you know? The little brother, sister, niece, nephew, cousin, that little one who runs up, jumps in our arms. I think of my little sister, Haley. I cannot quit on that girl. I'm her big brother. She needs me in her life. And I'm going to help her make those better choices I never made. I look after that girl, love her, support her, all the good choices she is making. I'm so proud of her that she's not that partier kid. She's not that out-of-control kid. She's making good choices with her life. I think of my sister, the rest of my family, my friends, and a lot of the time when I'm laying there in the worst days, I think about people I've met on the road I've shared this story with. I've got a lot of emails from people saying they heard this story and inspired them never to give up either. So I can't quit on any of those people who are looking to me as that source of strength or inspiration. I guess by default I've become that poster boy for never giving up, never quitting. But, you know, I'm happy to be that guy, damn proud, I'll never ever quit. I remember just laying in that hospital bed, I wanted to go home, but I couldn't go home. I had to learn to breathe, I had to learn to eat, I had to learn to go to the washroom, I had to fight for the most basic of things. After 2 months of struggle, I finally got to leave the hospital, but still not home. The only place I want to be. The doctors and nurses figured 4 or 5 months of rehabilitation. I learned to use a wheelchair and so many other little things. It's the day-to-day stuff. You roll over, you jump out of bed, you hop in the shower, the bath, you dry off, you get dressed. You get into a car or truck, walk up and down stairs, everything I had to learn to do again. And now using my whole body, just a portion, a fraction. I'm paralyzed with the chest. So all I'm working with is shoulders, arms, fingers, neck, and head. And I didn't learn to roll over in bed an afternoon or even a week. We're talking weeks, the most frustrating therapy, months till I could sit up. I could pull myself up, no stomach or back muscle. It was 4 months till I showered and dressed myself all on my own finally. I called everyone I could think of that day. I showered and dressed myself today. It only took me 2.5 hours. You know, random of a call, right? But I guess we learn who our true friends are when we go through those tough times. My buddies are there. Keep it going. You'll be home soon, Kev. You're getting better. And I grab onto those things that may seem silly or little to some, but to me they're monumental victories. And so often when I learn those things, they put a smile on my face. But I would do something, and I still do this, and probably always will. It's like I question that smile, I question that happiness. I'm quite happy lately. I do enjoy sharing the story, traveling around. People ask me all the time, how do I do it, you know? It must be hard, and I'm not going to say that it's easy. There's no way this is easy. But it is that email from that young person saying, man, I've been out of control lately. I've been acting that way you used to. I got to straighten it up. I got to smarten up. Or that girl who writes and says, you know, I've been cutting myself, thinking about ending, and I'm not going to now. I'm going to go talk to someone at school, talk to a counselor. Or just that person who says, I went out today, and I played that sport I love, or I did that thing, and I hugged my little sister. That makes it all worthwhile. It outweighs any pain or difficulty in sharing the story. So, you know, I've been smiling a lot, getting out, getting support, and seeing different places. It's pretty cool, inspiring people. But I still have those moments where I question it. And I always have that doubt, that guilt inside. And whenever I'm reminded of Brendan, I can't help but think of his family, his parents, the people who love him most. They still deal with it every day. I need to face them one day. Their phone number sat beside my hospital bed for weeks. I looked at it every single day. I wondered what I would say, how I would make that call. I finally dialed. His mom answered. She broke down. I broke down. His dad took the phone. And there he was, Bren's dad, supporting me. He invited me over to the family's home. It was a house he'd helped his parents build. Bren wanted to be a carpenter. I'll never forget, his dad lifted me up the stairs into their house. Sitting in their living room, pictures of their son, Brendan, who died in my car because I drove drunk and fast, on the mantle, on the wall. As I left, his mom giving me a hug, reaching into her pocket, pulling out a white envelope, inside it a check, the money they'd raised for me. I didn't even know what to do with it. The heart-to-heart, the man-to-man I had with his dad on the back porch, the words he said I've never forgotten. He told me they weren't out to get me or hate me or blame me. The way they saw us, we both made that choice. Bren knew better. They offered that ride home just like my parents did. We both chose not to take it. Any night he could have been the driver, I could have been the passenger. It wasn't just him, just me. It was all of us doing it. We were all taking those risks, making those bad choices. So how could they blame it all on me? It took me a long time to understand that, forgive myself, live with myself. When I say forgive myself, I'm not saying I don't feel guilt or have rough days. I question some of the best. I'm just saying I know we both made that choice. And that's why the story is relevant to every single person who hears it. If you're not driving, you're going to be passengers. You'll be driving one day if you're not already now. Who's driving you around? Are they taking those risks? Are they impaired? Are you wearing your belt? How are you driving? It's not just us behind the wheel, it's all those people with us too. It's the people we love most. And beyond that, I mean, really what it comes down to is choices. Every person in this room makes choices every day, every night, every weekend. One bad choice can change life forever. And by now we know a good choice from a bad. We know the line we shouldn't cross. It makes you wonder why people with all that we know, sometimes people still out there crossing that line. I really think it's this thing, it's not something we say out loud, but it's this common excuse that lives within us all. I think everyone pretty much. Because I think it just says, it won't happen to me, it won't happen to me. I used to make the excuse all the time, it won't happen to me. Not so much anymore. And I never thought it would happen to my buddy. I was really hoping, that was it, because it was a lot of big hurdles, trying to get through that rehab, trying to get home, and then one more big one. My girlfriend Robin of 3 years, we broke up. She was tired of that lifestyle I was living, taking those chances, doing that stupid stuff. She talked to me all the time, I wouldn't listen. It's her, not me. I took her for granted. She couldn't stay by me through it. We broke up. It was the final straw for me. I don't blame her, but for me, that was it. It's just like everything around me is just crumbling to bits, everything I love, I'm just hoping one thing can stay the same, then I lose my first love as well. And I'm not ashamed to tell everyone in this room, I cried that day. I cried like a little baby. We all got tears for a reason, like let them fall if they want to fall. I couldn't stop crying no matter what I thought, everything I love, everything I live for, everything I look forward to, everything meant the world to me just gone. There's nothing to do, just bring it back. I ask people if you do anything today, just please take a second or two. Appreciate today, appreciate tonight. Appreciate the little things maybe take for granted, maybe not so much anymore. Appreciate the big things you love doing most, those things on your list, you know what they are. The people you love, the people who love you, many of you in this room with you right now. Where we live, the more and more I see of America, of Canada, of North America, I realize we're just so lucky, so fortunate, so blessed. The world at our fingertips. And I think sometimes what happens when we have so much is we kind of shrug things off. I know I used to take things for granted. And I believe that's why I threw so much away. And when that all hit me, man, it was just rock bottom. I didn't know what to do with myself. I didn't want to get better. Getting better meant being in a wheelchair. I didn't want to be in a wheelchair. I didn't want people coming and telling me it's going to be okay. No, it's not going to be okay. I was angry, miserable, depressed, as bitter, as dark. And then it hit me, is this going to be the rest of my life? What a long, crappy life that's going to be. I understand, I recognize I'm very fortunate to have good people around me supporting me, but they couldn't do everything. I was going to need to make some choices of my own soon. I said one of the greatest choices I ever made is whether this story I'm sharing with you right here, right now, beat me, or if I was going to overcome it. I made the choice to not give up and to live. Should I live a crappy life? Or should I live a long, happy life? Seems like a simple choice. And I'd say everyone in this room should all live a long, great, happy life. Man, I had to get home. I had to get home. My goal was before Christmas. I learned everything I had to do, including catheters, something I never wanted to ever do, so I could get home. I just made her 3 days before. Home's not where it used to be. Dad's house wasn't wheelchair accessible. I learned pretty damn quick that most of the world is not. I'm gone with the days of jumping up, being spontaneous, going where I wanted, when I wanted. I would have to plan everything. The world full of all these new obstacles I never had before. Stairs, my new worst enemy. People were pretty resilient. You know, we learned to adapt. I started to figure it out. My brain's like a GPS of accessibility. But then it hit me where I wasn't going. Those are my favorite places, maybe yours as well. It's the beaches, the lakes, the hills, the mountains. I don't know if I've ever tried riding a bike through sand before, or maybe snow. It doesn't happen so much. The wheelchair just gets stuck. It was tearing me up to know my friends were at the skate park or the beach, or my little sister Haley was learning to snowboard while I was at home strapped into my board, screaming my legs to go, to move, tears rolling down my face, just hoping they'd budge a bit. My family knew how much I was hurting. They did a bunch of research and they learned there's this program called sit-ski, and they had a really cool one up in Whistler. We just had the Olympics. I don't live too far from there. So up we go. And there I am, shredding down this hill, powder's flying over my head, because I'm like maybe 3.5, 4 feet tall now. I'm sitting on a chairlift feeling so alive because I never thought I'd be there again. And it just hit me, these things I love, these things I miss, these things I need, I want. I'm never going to get them. I'm making excuses. I can't do that. I'm in a wheelchair. I'm paralyzed. I never get them by giving up. I hadn't made that far by giving up. I made that far by finding a way. And I was going to keep finding a way. Every single day I woke up, I was going to find a way to overcome those obstacles, to have a smile on my face, to keep going. And that is my motto, that is my mantra to share with everyone I've ever met and spoke to. Because no matter who we are, where we're at, what challenge we face, or dream or goal we have, if we don't give up, we're going to find a way. And the better choices we make, the better chance, better opportunity we have to find that way, to find our way. You know, I've been sharing this story for years now, and every time I tell it, it's a bit different. I try to put in a few jokes here and there to lighten it up, because I know it can be pretty heavy. I don't want to make anybody cry. So when it gets heavy, I crack a joke. But I don't always have jokes. When I talk to Brendan's family, it's pretty serious. I often find myself stumbling over words, apologizing. They're always there supporting me somehow, getting me through. They never let me see how much I hurt or see their pain. I can only imagine it. Imagine I do. You know, I still see it in my own circle too, and it's surprising me now because normally I'm doing all right. I don't expect them to hurt still. But like this summer, sitting around a campfire, bunch of us, my buddies in my wheelchair, looked weird. I'm like, dude, it looks weird seeing you in a wheelchair. My sister Allison says, Kev, it looks weird seeing you in a wheelchair. 10 years, she never said that. And I'm not hurt. I don't want my sister to hurt. My youngest sister Haley's the godsend. The crappiest of days, she runs over, jumps in my lap. Can I have a ride? I'd smile. I'd find a way for her. I'd suck it up for Haley. She rode my lap everywhere for years. I remember one of the first big journeys to the playground, arms just burning. We finally made it. The whole playground surrounded in a log, and I'm stuck. Someone helps me in. Cool, I'm in the playground. There's all these pebbles. I'm trying to roll so bad. But I'm stuck. I'm just digging a hole, and I look up, and there's my little sister Haley standing by the swing. She's just waiting for a push. I never made it to her that day. I watched someone else push my little sister on the swings. I watched someone else help her up and down the slide. I looked the other way, tears rolling down my face. I didn't want that little girl, 5, 6 years old, to see her brother crying. I didn't want her to hurt, man. I never wanted her to hurt. So I'm reminded that it affects her. Yeah, it gets me. Like her birthday every year. Out comes the cake and candles. Mom or dad says, Haley, make your wish. She never says a word. She only looks at me. And I know that little girl's wish. I know what that look means. It just breaks my heart. And it breaks my heart to think of Bren's siblings. Their wish. I just think the choices I made, they just affected me. I know the choices I make, they affect everyone around me, good or bad. That goes for all of us. And those bad choices we make, we're pretty tough. We get through. It's the people around us that love us that hurt the most. I learned a real hard lesson through this all I wanted to share. Every time I tell the story, it's a bit different. There's no script. It just comes from the heart. But one thing's always the same. There's always chairs beside me, and these chairs are for friends who are not here in person. Not because they couldn't catch a flight or had a late night or had other things they had to do. These chairs are for buddies of mine who died. Brendan, Jordan, and Chris. Car crash, suicide, violence. We all sit in chairs because the choices either we made or someone else made. I got the voice. With that voice to share a story, our story. I'm telling you our story today before prom, before that next step in your lives. Just hope and maybe you think about it, maybe you feel it, maybe you keep it upstairs. And you're faced with that dilemma, that crossroad. Maybe you'll make the better choice. Maybe you'll support your friends. Help them make that better choice. Look out for each other. So our story, one like it doesn't become yours. That's why we're here. And that's why I have this voice. And I struggle to share every single word I just told you. My throat is just raspy and on fire. I never lose this voice. Maybe I'm meant to tell this story. And maybe you're here today because you're meant to hear it. I believe and I live by these words that life is not so much about what happened. It's more about what happens next. Meaning, we can't go back, we can't change the past, but today, tomorrow, the future, the rest is up to us. It's the choices we make. It's never too late to take that right turn. It's never too late to start making those better choices for a fresh start. Sharing our stories, what I do next. And I hope you all took something positive away from our time here together. If you ever need to come back to anything I said today or something you've heard or felt or saw, I'll ask you to do one simple little thing as a reminder. Please just stop, wiggle your toes, and remember our story. Just wiggle your toes and remember our story. Thank you so much for having me here today. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. We're going to show you, thank you. Got a little video here. I wasn't sure if I had enough time to show it, but apparently I do. Yeah. We're going to rock. Do you want to see a video? I got a video of this. We're going to play a video here. Thanks. Thank you. trusting who we are, and nothing else matters. Never care for what they do, never care for what they know, but I know myself this way. Life is ours, we live it our way. All these words I don't just say, and nothing else matters. Trust I seek and I find in you. Every day for us something new. Open mind for a different view, and nothing else matters. Never care for what they say, never care for games they play, never care for what they do, never care for what they know.
What's that?
That's what Kevin does.
Kevin does that all the time? What does it mean?
It means
Okay.
Nothing else matters.
I know Kevin's wish at the end of the day is for one person in this room to learn something of such a girl. Every time I watch him speak, I still cry. I've seen him probably 20 times, so just wish for world peace and he'll get through it. At the end of the day, his wish has always been, with every school assembly, every parents' night he's ever hosted, is for one person in this room to make a better choice. It's not about taking the fun out of the equation for any of us. It's about having a good time safely. At the end of the day, if he makes his wish come true, that means Brennan didn't die for nothing. And I hope with all my heart, Kev, that Haley's wish comes true one day too. It's been an honor to be a colleague, and more importantly, I feel blessed to be your friend. I love that you came all the way from Canada to share this message, and I hope this is just the first of many schools for you here. Well deserved, my friend. I told you Massachusetts would love you. A really incredible law enforcement officer told me one day that there's only two things that stop car crashes from happening every day, no matter where you live. Common sense of each driver, and a white or yellow line this big. When people decide to speed or drink and drive, smoke whatever it is they've decided to smoke, drive anyway, text message, check their emails and their crackberries while they drive, we throw common sense out the window. And the only thing we bet our lives on at the end of the day is a white or yellow line this big, and the choices we all make and own. Another one of those choices for the people in this room is whether to host or not host a party at your house. For all the parents in the room, we have an incredible guest, Scott Hydorn from Campbell, Edwards, and Conroy. I hope I got that right. He's going to spend a little time with us tonight and talk about social host liability here in the state of Massachusetts. If you'd help me welcome Scott, please.
Thank you, Kara, and thank you, Kevin. That was an incredibly powerful and moving story. It hit home with me. I know it hit home with all of you too, based on your reaction. My name is Scott Hydorn. I'm from the law firm of Campbell, Edwards, and Conroy, and we go around the Commonwealth talking mostly to parents, but also to kids about what's called social host liability. What is social host liability? It's liability that both criminal and civil liability that flows from giving alcohol to kids, to minors, someone under the age of 21, or as we'll talk about, allowing somebody under 21 to drink even if you didn't provide that alcohol to them. And I'd like to start by telling you about the evolution of the social host law in Massachusetts. And I start with this story. Took place at this house down in the summer of 1996 in Cohasset at the home of a businessman named John Lennon. In 1996, Mr. Lennon had two children graduating. His daughter was graduating from college, and his son was graduating from Thayer Academy down on the South Shore, and he threw a graduation party for both of them. His daughter, having graduated from college, and her friends, of course, were of legal drinking age. His son, though, and all of his friends were not. And so Mr. Lennon threw this party, and he didn't actually give alcohol to any underage person that day. He didn't physically take beer and give it to kids. He didn't tell them even that it was okay for them to drink alcohol that day. What he did was he put out 2 kegs of beer, a bunch of cups, and let what may happen, happen. And we all know what happens. These are 18-year-old kids. They took that beer and they drank it. One of Mr. Lennon's son's friend, by the name of Billy White, had a lot to drink that night. He got into a car. He drove drunk and he collided with 2 people. I'm sorry, wrong story. I'll get to that one in a second. One of his friends, Gregory Smith, age 18, drove home, got into a car accident, and he died that night. Terrible tragedy. 18-year-old boy at the very beginning of his life, about to go out and make it on his own. He died that day. There was an investigation. Of course, the police found out what happened. They found out that alcohol was available to kids that day. And they brought charges against Mr. Lennon. They charged him under the current social host statute back in 1996 for allowing children to drink alcohol at his party. And also, Mr. Smith's parents brought a civil claim against Mr. Lennon for allowing their son to drink at his party. And the criminal case against him was prosecuted. It was tried, and he was found not guilty under the current statute at that time. Why? Because he didn't actually give alcohol to anybody that day. He was found not guilty. But Mr. Smith's parents also brought a civil case, as I mentioned, and that case was settled. It was settled for a confidential amount. I don't know it. I didn't work on that case. Nobody from my firm did. But I can tell you it was probably a lot of money. And by a lot of money, I mean probably 7 figures. That's what happens in these kinds of cases You can imagine sitting on a jury being asked to compensate a family for the loss of their 18-year-old son. We are talking about a lot of money. And so he was found not guilty on 9 counts of providing alcohol to minors and 1 count of contributing to the delinquency of a minor. The wrongful death action settled. And after that, Mr. Smith's family, perhaps using some of the money from the settlement, lobbied our legislature to change that law. And what they said was, it's unfair that somebody like Mr. Lennon can have a party like this and not be punished. And so they hired a lawyer from down in Pennsylvania who had helped draft the social host statute down in Pennsylvania. It's much more robust, it's much more strict, and they said, bring that law to Massachusetts. And he did. He came up here, he lobbied our legislature, and in the year 2000, Governor Cellucci signed into law a new social host statute. That's it. It's Mass General Law, Chapter 138, Section 34, and you can read what it says there on the screen. This is our current statute. Whoever, that first word is important, whoever furnishes alcohol for a person under 21 years of age shall be punished by a fine and up to a year in jail. And importantly, the law changed the definition of what furnish means, so that now furnish means to supply, give, provide, or importantly, allow to possess alcoholic beverages on premises or property owned or controlled by the person charged. So what does that mean? If you allow somebody to drink in your home, in an apartment that you are renting, in a hotel room that you have taken for the night, in a vacation property that you have rented, in a banquet hall that you have rented to throw a party, if you allow minors to drink there, even if you don't provide that alcohol to them, you have violated the Massachusetts social host statute, and you can go to jail for up to a year. That's it. I don't think a lot of people know about this law, especially the allow to possess part. But that's it. And we're seeing more and more people prosecuted not only for giving alcohol to minors, but allowing these things to happen in property that they control. So, I want to tell a story about how this law is enforced. And he and a few of his 19-year-old friends decided that they would go get some alcohol, play some drinking games, and get drunk. And so Mr. Neerum drove up to New Hampshire, where he purchased a case of beer, brought it home, and he and his friends at his parents' house drank the afternoon away. Later that afternoon, they got a call from Mr. Neerum's mother, said she was coming home a little bit earlier than they had expected, and so they did what we all would do at the age of 19. They split. They got out of there. They did not want to get caught. Mr. Neerum drove 2 of his friends, but another one of his friends, this is the Billy White story that I started to tell too early a minute ago. His friend Billy White got into a car in an inebriated state, and he drove drunk and collided with the 2 people you see on the right of this slide, Trista Zink and Neil Bornstein. Trista, age 16, died in that accident. Neil Bornstein suffered a severe brain injury. And so what happened? The police investigated. How did Billy White get that alcohol? They found out what had happened, and they charged Mr. Neerum under the social host statute. He had, after all, provided, supplied, given, and allowed minors to possess alcohol at his parents' home. He was charged with that. He pleaded guilty to that, hoping, I think, that the court would give him a lenient sentence. After all, he was a good kid. He had graduated from high school, went off to college, was doing well there, had no criminal record. Under our social host statute, the judge sentenced him to 6 months in jail to be served. And so Mr. Neerum, of course, wasn't happy with that, and he hired a new lawyer to represent him, and that lawyer brought an appeal. And that lawyer argued one thing that probably a lot of you might be thinking. How is it that someone who is 19 and who purchased alcohol for somebody else who is 19, both of them underage, can get in trouble. Isn't this statute, in fact, meant for adults who buy alcohol for minors? Well, that's not the case, and that's not what the court said. This is the appeals court case, and it says, we hold that whoever, as I told you before in that statute, whoever supplies, provides, or allows minors to possess alcohol and property that they own or control will be guilty of this, of violating this statute. And so Mr. Nierma, unfortunately, did go away. And that's the law in the Commonwealth. It doesn't matter if you are a 15-year-old kid buying alcohol for a 20-year-old young man, you have violated that statute. Of course, anybody older who buys alcohol for a minor or allows them to possess it will also be guilty of violating that statute and faces up to a year in jail. The law in Massachusetts, despite what a lot of us may think, is 21 years old. At 21 years old, you're allowed to drink alcohol. If you are 20 years old and 11 months and 30 days old, you are not. Same goes with the social host statute. If you provide alcohol to someone who's almost 21, you have violated that statute, and you can go away for up to a year. There are other statutes that also relate to providing alcohol to minors, and I use this story to demonstrate one of them. This is Alexis Garcia, dead at the age of 15 from drowning. How did that happen? Ms. Garcia, sophomore in high school, member of the volleyball team, one afternoon, I think in 2003, decided to cut school and go drink alcohol with one of her friends. Her friend, shockingly, had received on her 15th birthday a large bottle of vodka as a birthday gift from her father. So, Ms. Garcia and her friend decided that they would go drink that bottle of vodka. Not very experienced drinkers. They took 20 ounces out of that bottle, put it into a different bottle, went over to Alexis's house, and that afternoon, these 15-year-old girls drank 20 ounces of vodka. Quite inebriated, Ms. Garcia thought it would be a good idea to go take a bath. She filled her bathtub up 3/4 of the way. She got into that bathtub and she drowned in a bathtub, completely inebriated at the age of 15. What happened? Police investigated. Where did she get the alcohol? They found out. They were, of course, shocked at how that alcohol came to, how her friend got that alcohol. And they charged Ms. Garcia's friend's father with manslaughter. So what is manslaughter? Manslaughter in Massachusetts and elsewhere is the unlawful killing of another without malice. We all know murder is premeditated killing. Manslaughter in Massachusetts is reckless or wanton or negligent taking of somebody else's life, and it carries a sentence of up to 20 years in jail. And so Ms. Garcia's friend's father was charged with manslaughter. That's a picture of him in jail pleading guilty to this crime. His name is Timothy Parent. Quite an ironic last name. He was not being a parent when he gave that alcohol to his daughter. He was charged, he pleaded guilty, and he received 5 years of probation. You may be asking me, why didn't he go away to jail for this? I can get into that a little bit later. It's too much law. I would put you to sleep. But basically, what the prosecutors, I think, thought was that it would be difficult to prove what we call legal causation. That is to say, did Mr. Parent really think that by giving alcohol to his daughter, that her friend would end up dead at her house in a bathtub? It's a long, complicated story. My sense is that if Mr. Parent had given that alcohol to his daughter as he did, and she ended up dead that day, that he would have been charged with manslaughter prosecuted and would have done a lot of time in jail. So those are the criminal statutes that are generally used to prosecute people who give alcohol to minors, be it people of age or people under 21 themselves. So what we hear a lot when we go around this Commonwealth, talk to parents like you, kids like you, what we hear all the time are parents who come up to us, kids who come up to us and say, you know, alcohol, underage drinking is a real problem in our community. It can't be stopped. Peer pressure, tradition, all kinds of things. Kids go out and drink on the weekends, and there's nothing we can do to stop it. And so what these parents tell me is, we've come up with a plan. What we do is we provide a safe place for these kids to drink. So we know that they're out there drinking. Sometimes they go out and drink in the woods. Sometimes they go to other parents' houses who allow them to drink. And what we're worried about is that they're going to get into a car after that party, trying to come home that night. They're going to get into a crash and they're going to kill themselves or somebody else. And so we're going to provide a safe environment for them to drink. We're going to put our arms around our kids, save them from themselves. I hear that at every single presentation I give. And people argue with me. That's what I think we should do. That's the all too common scenario. And the rationale for it, of course, is that it's better to have kids drink in a controlled environment. That way, nobody gets hurt. The assumption underlying that is that behavior and consequences are predictable. They are not. They are not. Probably half the stories that I hear, the tragedies that I hear involving underage drinking, have absolutely nothing to do with drunk driving, nothing to do with taking the keys away. Tragedy follows underage drinking. It doesn't happen every time. We all know that. But it happens every single weekend in this Commonwealth. There is not a weekend that goes by that we don't hear a story about a tragedy involving underage drinking. Not always about taking the keys away. And I'll tell you a story now. This is a story from North Andover, not too far from here. Nothing to do with drunk driving. This is a picture here of Megan Duggan in 1997. At the age of 17, she died from a skull-crushing fall down the stairs at that house in North Andover. She went to a party there, similar story. Hosts at that party wanted kids to drink there because it would be a safe place for them to drink. Nobody was going to drive home. Ms. Duggan had a lot to drink that night, and walking by herself down the basement stairs, fell down the stairs, crushed her skull, unconscious. Nobody witnessed that fall. Things might have been different if they did. The party continued. As the party continued, drunk partygoers would walk up and down those stairs, see Ms. Duggan at the bottom of the stairs. They assumed she was passed out from drinking too much. At one point, not knowing that she had crushed her skull, friends of hers put a blanket over her so that she could sleep it off. The host of the party, Mr. Zarella, the father at the home, saw her, assumed that she had passed out. Nobody called an ambulance for some 6 or 7 hours after this had happened. It was too late, and she died. Just one story, that not just motor vehicle accidents. I had 2 or 3 more stories to tell you about not just motor vehicle accidents today, but I don't have time to tell you. Trust me when I tell you that you cannot prevent tragedies like this from happening just by taking the car keys away. This is Mr. Zarella, the party host, talking about this tragedy, and these are his quotes. It's what I hear all the time. I just wanted them to have a safe place to drink. I thought it was safe. One more quick story, not involving motor vehicle accidents. This is a picture of Matthew Berry dead at the age of 16 from exsanguination, that is bleeding out. It's a picture of him at the age of 16. He doesn't look more than 12 or 13 to me. Went to a party thrown by one of his 16-year-old friends. Her mother allowed underage drinking at her house. She watched as 16-year-old kids came in with backpacks full of beer and allowed them to drink. At one of these parties, Mr. Barry became quite drunk, quite belligerent. So belligerent, in fact, that the partygoers asked him to leave. They wanted him to get out of there. Not happy about being asked to leave, Mr. Barry, on his way out the front door, punched through a plate glass window, sliced an artery in his wrist, went a few houses down the street, and he bled out on the steps of one of their neighbors' walkways. He wasn't found for 30 hours. It's not always about taking the keys away. It's not always about drunk driving. It was a tragedy, of course, for Mr. Barry and his family. That's the big tragedy here. Loss of life at the age of 16, but it's a tragedy for the family that threw the party also. That's a picture on the right of Nancy St. John or St. Jean. She pleaded guilty and received 6 months in jail that she served. She's the first person that we're aware of who actually went to prison for violation of the new social host statute. It's a tragedy for her. It's a tragedy for her daughter and the rest of her family, as she served 6 months in jail. The reality is, if you provide alcohol to minors, no matter how old you are, if you drink when you are underage, you can and will be charged criminally. You'll have a criminal record that will follow you around for the rest of your life. I've given a few examples here. You're asked about whether you've ever been convicted of a crime on your college applications. You're asked for professional licensing exams. You're asked for grad school. Every time you have to answer yes, you have to explain why. Think about what a prospective employer, prospective college, prospective professional exam board is going to want to know about you. You're going to have to write an essay explaining what poor judgment you used. It will follow you the rest of your life. It's got implications for athletics. We have a lot of athletes here. You probably know the MIAA rules. You drink, you lose your eligibility to participate in athletics. It also leads to civil liability. You will be sued. If you provide alcohol to a minor or allow minors to drink at your house and tragedy follows, you will be sued. I have not seen one exception. What happens is the family, of course, distraught, torn up about what happened, looking for someone to blame, comes into a lawyer's office. That lawyer brings a case. It will happen. In Massachusetts, evidence of violation of criminal statute is evidence of negligence. So if you are proved to have broken that social host criminal statute that I've talked about, you will be found liable for negligence and probably a very large civil judgment against you. This is a short timeline of what you can expect. If you are involved in one of these cases, you'll have a criminal trial within a year, but the civil trial will probably drag out for 3 or 5 years. It will be held. I've been with families through these kinds of cases on both sides, and they suffer through all of that 5 years. What comes at the end of it? This is the budget for the party, $374 to throw a typical graduation party. This is the real cost, a civil judgment, $8.6 million. That's not a judgment that I've taken out of thin air. That's the actual civil judgment. In this case, the case of Trista Zink and Neil Bornstein. This is a copy of the verdict sheet, $8.6 million for wrongful death and traumatic brain injury. You may say to me, well, I've got insurance for that. I've got car insurance, I've got homeowners insurance. In Massachusetts, most of us have $500,000 in homeowners coverage. Some of us, in rare cases, have $1 million even in more rare cases, we've got maybe a $3 million umbrella policy. I don't think any of us in this room have an extra $5.6 million above that, and that's what that verdict was. It will ruin everything you've worked decades for in the blink of an eye because you make the decision to allow minors to drink or because you provide alcohol to them. It won't happen every time, but it will happen, and we see it happening every weekend in this Commonwealth. So that's the time I've got. I want to leave you with these takeaways. First, despite what everybody might think, what everybody else might be doing, the law in Massachusetts is 21 years old. If you drink and you're under 21, you've violated the law. If you give alcohol to anybody under 21, you've violated the law. Think long and hard before you do that. Do you want to throw the $8 million party? To be the cool kids or to be the cool parents? You don't. The repercussions will follow you around for the rest of your life. They'll follow you because of a civil judgment. They'll follow you because you might go away to jail. But most importantly, of course, there are tragedies. People die, loss of life and limb, and you will feel guilty about that for the rest of your life. It just doesn't make sense. So that's what I have to say. I went through it pretty quickly because I know it's quite dry, especially after such an interesting presentation by Kevin. I will be here afterwards. If you have any questions about this, come find me afterwards and we can go through any of it. I think Kara's going to...
Massachusetts is one of the only states in the country that are hosting programs like this, where it makes it mandatory for parents and teens to attend together. I've had the opportunity over the last couple of years to spend time at about 30 mandatory parents' nights across the state, here in Massachusetts. And by far, this is the most well-organized and the biggest attended of all of them. I'm actually back in April for another 4 or 5 of them. Every day of the week, I'll be at a mandatory parents' night right before the prom. Prom's early this year for Wilmington High School students, and it takes a lot of people, a lot of time to put this program on. They started planning this at the beginning of the school year. Now I have some thank yous. I got 3 more minutes and you guys are free to go, but I want to get those thank yous out because it's an incredible amount of work that these people put in to put this program together, to put the folders together for you guys to look through all the incredible, there's a lot of awesome information in here. There's also the website for Scott and for Kevin if you guys want to follow up with them directly. They both will be around after the presentation this evening if you have questions for them, or if you just want to have a chat. Special thanks go out to the Wildcat Project Committee, the Wilmington High School SAD chapter, all the staff and administrators, to the principal, Eric Tracy, the superintendent of the Wilmington School District, Joanne Benton, the custodial staff who cleans up after all of us leave, the police department here in Wilmington, who I've had the privilege to work with over the years. I know I totally am going to say this wrong, I'm a good Canadian girl. Billerica House of Corrections, I think I said it right. I was calling it Billerica all day and they're laughing at me, so they had to help teach me how to say it properly. This project tonight has been funded by, through Northwest Suburban Health Alliance, the Leahy Clinic, and the Wilmington Education Foundation. There are raffle tickets that I know you got on the way in here. There's 3 incredible raffles. I'm going to have the SAD chapter here at Wilmington come out and help us with the raffle tickets. Some good free stuff. I also would love the rest of the SAD chapter, if you wouldn't mind getting that box full of t-shirts, throwing some out into the crowd. We're going to do a punk rock throw out t-shirts in honor of you, Kev. Some awesome t-shirts. We have 3 raffles to give away. These guys get t-shirts. I love that they stood up, so throw them some t-shirts. Kev, you want to throw some t-shirts? No, you're good? All right. So let's do the raffle. Please, you guys, before you leave, make sure that all the junior prom tickets, any of you that are going to junior prom this weekend, go to the cafeteria to buy your tickets. In alphabetical order, I was told to say. Shh. Make sure those guys get t-shirts. You got them? Yeah. And please, if you have the time, I know everyone's very busy. If you have the time, go onto the website and complete the Pre-Prom Program survey. It totally feels like a sporting event or a rock show. Good job. Throw one to the dad. The dad deserves one. All right. Again, just to reiterate, if you have the time to fill out the Pre-Prom Program survey on the website, please do so. It really helps them for next year create an even better program. So we got 3 raffles. Who likes to win stuff? Anybody like to win stuff? T-shirts. All right, the first raffle item is a gift certificate for a manicure. I know all the gentlemen just can't wait to win this. At Elegant Touch Nails. And if gentlemen you win, it's a very good gift for your mom or your girlfriend. It earns you brownie points. Ready? All right, the numbers are, feel like I'm, bingo! Okay, 2, 4, 7, 3, 8, 9. Anybody? Good job. Come on down and get your raffle. The next one is a gift certificate for $10 to Kelly's Nail and Spa. We got a nail theme going on. All right, 2, 4, 7, 2, 3, 2. And last but not least is a $25 gift certificate from Designs by Dawn. I'm not sure who Dawn is, but I'm sure it's a great certificate. Ready? Don't leave yet. All right, it starts with a 1 this time for all of you. 197 216. Yay! Thank you guys for attending tonight. Drive safely.